What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerdy Volume Podcast. And today we are going to be talking about The Last of Us, the adaptation of the game. So we're going to be talking about the show, obviously. And we're going to talk about the things we liked, the things we didn't like, and what other people thought. Yeah. So with that, sit back, relax, and turn it to 11.
No, I'm just gonna dive in and just say the character Sarah Miller. At the beginning, I thought she was like gonna be like this dumb girl that's got to check out what's up. You know what I mean? What's going on? But she isn't necessarily. However, when the dog was going nuts that night, I mean, it kind of makes sense as to why she would check on him, because the door was wide open. Dog is super scared of the entire house now all of a sudden. So knowing that there's an elderly lady that you're always there around, it makes sense that she would be worried. So in the beginning, though, I'm just like, oh, wow, I feel like she gonna get killed because she does something dumb. And even though she did go into the house, like for some odd reason in my head, I felt, it actually makes sense that she goes into the house because she knows that there's an elderly person in the house, and then there's a couple, right? And obviously, if the dog's going nuts, we don't know if the couple is in the house, So it makes sense now. I mean, she's like a teenager. I want to say she's maybe like in high school, maybe.
I think so, yeah.
She looked middle school, but I'm old now, so I mean, I don't know what.
Nah, she was definitely a high school kid. Maybe
she was high school,
like
freshman.
Yeah. Maybe like a freshman or something.
Young, yeah. That's why, but so like, I mean, I just wanted to kind of like, let that part go, because that was like, it was really hard for me to like a lot of young characters, because they're kind of naive and they kind of just do things based off of curiosity. But she wasn't curious about it at all. And she was more like, I have to go help my neighbor because, the dog's going nuts. The door's wide open. Hopefully, maybe there was a robber. I mean, obviously the robber's not there anymore because the door's open. She doesn't hear anything. And then she goes in and then she does hear something. But, you see an old dude bleeding out. And the first thing he says, help me. I'm like,
yeah, I mean,
I was like, bro, you're like 200 something pounds. And this girl is like not even close to your weight. There's no way she can really help you. Other than call somebody, you know what I mean? But then again, dude's bleeding out. So that's probably the last thing he can really say to her, or him, excuse me, the old man on the door. But yeah, so I give her mad respect for going in there, probably because of the older lady. It just, for me, if I was that age, I would also check on the older lady, only just to make sure she's okay. But I mean, granted, the end result wasn't what I expected. I mean, okay, wait, the ending result of what she saw was what I expected. But if I was in the girl's shoes, that would be the last thing I expect.
That's what I was going to say. Like, we know what the show is going to be about, or what's happening, right? So when she goes into the house, we're all just like, don't go into the house. Are you being, why are you being so dumb about it?
Are you dumb?
Like, in reality, would you ever think that there's a zombie or some kind of weird situation happening that you although if the door is open to my neighbor's house, who's an old lady, right, and her dog is freaking out, I might not think that there's a zombie, but I would definitely probably think that somebody broke into the house. So then that should have deterred you from not entering the house. Anyway, by the way, everyone, if you ever come to your house and your door is open, don't enter the house. and you know that nobody should be home right now, don't go into your house. Call the police. I don't know. That's crazy, right? That's just me, though. That's just me. You don't know who's in there, right? And I can probably guarantee you it ain't going to be a zombie, okay? It's probably something worse.
I think that the dog didn't want to approach it. Now the dog is probably like a natural guard dog. I believe it's a sheep dog. It was a white and black dog.
Yeah. I think
they normally
like
round
like a sheep dog.
Yeah. And they're pretty, like, when it comes to security.
Hardcore.
If anything, the dog would have died. if it was a robber. Or, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, the dog would have been in the house barking. The dog went to the neighbors and was like, yo, help out. I need help.
You
I
need to
need
go
help.
in there.
Go inside and go see what's up.
What's going on, Lassie? Although it wasn't I don't know I forgot what the Lassie dogs are called. I've always called them Lassies, and then I think it wasn't until I was like 12 somebody's like, that's not the name of the dog. Like that's the name of that dog, but it is the name of the breed of dogs.
Right. No, I get it. I do it all the time. I was like, oh look, it's a Clifford, and it's just
okay.
It's like a bulldog. You know, it's not a mastiff at all. And yeah, so yeah. But that, I guess that, you know, that's kind of helps out for those who are watching. But yeah, if anybody who has played the game would probably know that a lot of the scenes is almost like identical. Like even in the episode, the final episode where you see Ellie touching the giraffe. Apparently that scene is in the game. Now, for those, before you guys start, you know, asking questions about, or not asking questions, but formulating what we're going to probably talk about, I have never played the game at all. I've seen a couple of gameplays, but it was never really my cup of tea. I never really played games like that. I never played games like Resident Evil. I'm not saying I'm a sissy. It's just, I just never played the games. I mean, I did play Resident Evil at like the arcades. I mean, those were fine. Never at home though. Wasn't really a big thing of mine.
Now I will tell you that I am a sissy, and that's why I don't play those games.
But you've played it though, right? Or at least some of it.
I literally played maybe the first chapter of the game, like the first real scene of the game. I think it was actually I think it was the scene that where the what's her name, Tess, where Tess dies, right, where she gets bit, and they were like up in the where all the suits of armor were and everything. It was a scene like that, and I remember sneaking around and
where the clickers were.
Yeah, where the clickers were. Yeah, exactly, where the clickers were. Oh man, yeah, that was the scene that I was just like, after playing that part, I was like, this isn't my game. I just can't.
Bro,
it's too much. I'm sitting here trying to freak out. I'm like trying not to freak out because these zombies are trying to eat me. Or they're not even zombies. I can't. You can't say they're zombies because technically they didn't
mindless.
die. They didn't die and then get like reanimated, which I would think is what a zombie would be considered. They were just infected with a fungus. Or a fungi, whatever way you want to say it.
They weren't fun guys. All right, let me just
were not. They definitely were.
They weren't fun guys. Man.
So yeah, I wouldn't say they're zombies, but there's no other way to really describe that kind of creature that they are, right? So just so that everybody knows, once again, The Last of Us is the TV show is a adaptation of the game, right? That was big on, I think it was PlayStation, I believe, because I don't think I ever saw it on Xbox.
I think we had the game
probably at some point
when we bought the PS4.
Oh, you guys had the game.
Yeah, I just never played. It wasn't my PS4 actually. It was my brother's, and I just saw it and we never played.
Your brother never shared your PS4 with you?
No, it was just with him, and I didn't want to bother him.
Oh,
I'm not that type. Like, hey, let me play a PS4.
Yeah.
I mean, I also have my Xbox, so I don't need him.
I don't need none of that. No. So something happens that this very deadly fungus starts to spread all over the world, obviously infecting people, and then they become zombified. That's the only way I can really explain it. Which brings
they become infected.
Yeah, they do become infected. But which brings the end of the world, and I want to say that the game and the show, if I remember well, is like something about like maybe 20 years after the infection, right? So they've had plenty of time to like kind of like settle down, reestablish, and kind of like be in a routine of what it is to live in this post-apocalyptic society or world. right? So that's pretty much the basis of the game. And and then you have the main character who's Joel Miller, played by Pedro Pascal, right?
Amazing
And
actor.
fantastic. Love
Amazing.
him in The Mandalorian. Although I didn't like. I mean, you don't ever really see him though. And apparently, he's not even the Mandalorian the majority of the time. He's the voice. He's the voice of the Mandalorian, but usually it's two other people who play the character.
I did like him in Kingsman 2.
Oh, that's true. I always forget he's in that, and he totally is. And also you have Bellaramsey, right, who plays
Lady
Ellie.
Mormont.
Yeah.
Lady Mormont.
Which they both were in Games of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, yeah.
I mean, they were never in a scene together though, because she was in the North. And
she wasn't brought in until like season 5. He died in like season 4.
Yeah. They were in the same show together at some, Yeah, that was a crazy death. Woo! Right? Man, Game of Thrones was so good until the ending, man. They just
agreed.
They did not give it the deserved ending that it needed. But yes, so Bella did a fantastic job of playing Ellie. I thought she did wonderful. I enjoyed their chemistry together in the show. They did so great. Every second of it was just like damn, this is good. This is good. That's all I really could say. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole show. And I keep forgetting that Ellie is immune, right? She already got bit. She's immune to the fungus. I wouldn't say the bacteria, but it's not even a bacteria. It's a fungus. So she's immune to the fungus. It doesn't convert her, or it doesn't change her. She doesn't get infected. And so now the whole point of the show is that Joel, who is Pedro's character, Joel needs to get Ellie to the Fireflies, who are in, I think it was Colorado, because they had a whatchamacallit out
Chicago.
there. Was it Chicago? And then
it was in Chicago.
Then and then it had to go to Colorado.
No, then it had to go to Wyoming.
Then it had to be in Colorado originally. Wherever it was,
Colorado, not Chicago.
They had to get to them to the Fireflies, who are these rebellious group, like they're rebels who are trying to fight against the bad guys, the social, the people who control all the societies. Well, let's just say it doesn't really work out. So he gets her all the way. Then he needs to get her all the way to Wyoming, which was the ending. That's the last point that they needed to reach. So yeah, so that they can figure out how she's immune to the whole fungus or whatever. Which, by the way, when we get to this point, this is where my negative part comes in, because it doesn't make sense to me. But I don't expect the creators of the game to be scientists at full heart. So and I could be wrong, but if anybody's out there who, when we get to this point and you say, no, Leo, you're wrong, and this is why, you let me know. But as far as I know, as a biology major, it doesn't make sense. So we'll get to that. But that set aside for later. We so that's pretty much the premise of the show / game.
And just to say too, like, so in the beginning of the whole show, before it starts, there is a seminar. There's like a professor and there's a host, and I guess there's another person too. I think it might be just 2 people. I forget, but he talks about fungi and or I guess cordyceps that can take over the mind of an ant and basically control the ant. And then, the host is like, why would you bring that up? Because isn't it true that cordyceps can't live in humans' bodies? So why would you bring that up as a biological kind of like issue? He's like, well, should the planet get warmer? I mean, obviously, a little agenda pushing right there with the whole, global warming. But should it get warmer, it'll evolve. The cordyceps will evolve, and they'll be able to live in our brains. And what was so crazy was that when they brought up that part of the cordyceps, it was Joel, his character was just like, I don't know, it was probably all up in our grains or, and our food.
Spores, yeah,
it was all up in there. We were just eating it, and then we just got infected. I was just like, dang, if that was the reason, the entire world would have gone in like a day. Apparently, it only took like 2-3 days before the entire day, before all of humanity was like just lost. That is insane how fast that was. And then, you know, what I did like about the series too is their time increments. Especially, I believe it was episode 4 with Bill and Frank, when they had, so Bill and Frank was actually a really good on
episode 3
marker to understand how time was going throughout the world. So there was 20 years from the beginning and to where Joel and Tess and Ellie meet. There's 20 years in that chunk. In the Bill and Frank episode, even though that's mostly on Bill's I guess
little town
his
town
own
house.
yeah, you know, vaccination, or what is it called? What do they call those? The federal places with all the people that are not infected, quarantine zones, QZs. There you go. And so that it was Bill's his own QZ. Even though we were only in that QZ, you actually get to see Joel and Tess show up, and I believe that was only within the first 7 years, 7 to 10 years, and they meet. Bill and Joel meet for the first time, and we already kind of saw how Bill was before even Frank showed up. Like, that dude was like a survivor. He went to Home Depot, like, as soon as it was
what
ready.
You call a post-apocalyptic fanatic, I guess you could say, because he had everything set. Like, his basement was ready for whatever catastrophes was about to happen. You know, whether it was governmental catastrophes or like governments trying to be tyrannic. Is that the word? I think tyrannic.
Yep.
Tyrannic. Okay. Tyrannic. You know, or if it was some kind of biological disaster. You know, so anything like that. So
he was ready. He was.
So he was.
Even though all that time was spent on that land and that on his QZ, we still kind of get to see it move based off of the people the raiders that went up against him. And then you also see the Joel and Tess, and then you also see that Frank gets sick, and then you also see that Bill's all like, okay, you want me to end you? I will end me too. You know, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, there was their whole story of 2 episodes, I believe, or episode and a half, was really kind of like a good marker to understand how time was flowing, and for their ending. Well, you know what? We'll get to that later. But that was a good marker to understand how time was flowing and how things were going throughout. And within the 7th year, I believe, or no, 13th year, Bill and Frank was able to produce fruit. And I'm like, you know, self-sufficient,
right?
You know,
right?
But
yeah, no, that was a great episode. Oh man, that episode is heartbreaking though, but also a great episode. I enjoyed every second. Wait, was that really episode 3?
No, Tess 4, I believe.
I'm looking at the.
Wait,
she did die in episode.
She died in episode 3 because in episode 2, that is when the fall starts. So the episode 1 is kind of introducing everything, and then the beginning of episode 2.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at the IMDb, and it says episode 3 is when Nick Offerman was in it as Bill. So I was like, really? I thought it was episode. I thought it was episode 4 too.
Well, he could be at the end of it. He could be at the end of episode 3.
It says he's only been in 1 episode.
Bill?
He was only in 1 episode.
No way.
Because they had that whole episode was dedicated to Bill and what was his partner's name?
Frank.
Harry? No, Frank. Yeah,
Frank. Yeah,
Bill and Frank, right? I don't know. I'm just saying. I guess it is episode 3. I thought it was episode 4 too. 4 as well.
And you know what's funny? Like, what was it? I think Ellie asks Joel, like, "Hey, so is Bill and Frank friendly?" And then he goes, "Well, Frank is."
Yes.
And then you had Bill and Frank's episode. And then once you hear, and it's funny too, because I was like, oh, is this Bill? Is this Bill? Like, you don't see it, but I had the captions on because sometimes, man, you can't hear what they're saying, and it makes me mad that I have to rewind it. You know what I mean? So I was just like, oh, is this Bill? Is this Bill? Is this Bill? And then all of a sudden he's like, hey, and this is when he captured Frank. He said, hey. And the screen was on Frank's face, but he said, hey. And then it said, Bill. Bill, colon, and then, hey, right? And I'm like, oh, well, yep, there it is. I was like, oh, man.
That's Frank. I mean, that's Bill.
Geez, that's Bill. And then this must be Frank. And then he says his name. And at first, I was just like, yo, that dude is suspicious. If I've watched The Walking Dead, Frank. I thought Frank was 100%. I didn't know it was Frank then at the time. But I was just like, that dude's suspicious. You know, I was like, is Frank one of his homies? You know, I thought maybe. But I was incredibly wrong. You know, we got, two Santa Claus dudes, then they had their whole episode together. It was it was so crazy how different they were, and when you see Tess and Joel, you see that they both they care about many different things. But Bill and Joel, like, Bill's all like, he had that gun towards Joel, and Joel's like, get that out of my face, man. All right. And I was just like, yeah, Joel, you tell him. It's only been 7 years, maybe. I don't know how many years it's been already at this point, but geez.
Yeah,
geez, Bill, chill.
Just to add to what you were saying a second ago about you had to put captions? Subtitles on. Yeah, the captions. That is a HBO problem. I am. Did you watch it on HBO?
I did.
It is an HBO problem. I'm telling you right now. Any show that T and I have watched that's on HBO, whenever there is just like talking happening, it is very, very quiet. And you're just sitting there going, what are you saying? And then when there's like explosions or music, it is extremely loud in comparison. I'm like, who is your sound engineer?
Yeah.
Who's doing this? Somebody needs to get fired.
Hire me. You know what I'm saying?
Because you're doing a horrible job. Why? And it's not only this show. Like, me and T have watched, there was the Games of Thrones, the second one, the Dragon, whatever it is, Dragon whatever, right? And that show and the other Games of Thrones, it was always the speaking parts were always so quiet, and then the action parts, the nonverbal parts were always so dang loud, and I'm just like, okay, somebody doesn't know how to do their job right. Somebody needs to get fired. Like,
100%.
How are you letting this happen? But yeah, 100%. I get the whole, because me and T hated always rewinding. It's like, and I don't want to put subtitles on, because then again, when I put subtitles on, I'm just reading. Even if I understand the language, I'm just reading the subtitles, and so I'm not watching the show anymore. I'm just reading the subtitles pretty much the whole time. So yeah, I get that. Just to go back to what we were just talking about, Bill now. Bill and Frank, so they lived their lives together pretty much from that moment on, right?
Yeah,
and
I want to say like 13
and
years.
They were the suppliers for Joel and Tess and the QZ that they lived in, right? They came and brought supplies into the smuggled. They were, because Joel and Tess were smugglers. That's what their job. That's pretty much what they did, and they smuggled food and medicine and whatever else they can, that Bill and Frank could give them, among probably other people as well. And so they were the dealers, they were providers, and Joel was the smuggler. And when Joel and Ellie get to where Bill is, by the end of the episode, Bill and Frank are no longer with the living, because by the time that episode came around, they were both quite old. Right. Or they were older. Yeah. They were probably, whatever age they wanted them to be, which probably looked like they were trying to be in their 60s or 70s or something like that is what it looked like, which kind of makes sense if they were like in their 50s when it all started. Right. So now they're closer to their 70s. And on top of that, I think Frank was it Parkinson's? No, it wasn't Parkinson's. MS?
He could have had MS. But I thought MS was more in females.
I mean, that doesn't mean that men can't get MS, though. He had some kind of neurological... Well, actually,
you're right. My old landlord, he had MS. Yeah.
He had some kind of neurological degradation.
Yeah, his body was shutting down.
He couldn't walk anymore. He was barely able to just function as a whole. So Bill had to do everything for him. He had to carry him. He had him in a wheelchair and everything. And so it got really sad at the end of it. And on I think Frank's birthday, he wanted to kill himself, because he's like, I don't want us to live in this way where you have to take care of me and I'm just this vegetable that, needs
Right.
tending to every day.
Mhm.
So Bill takes it upon himself. Well, he agrees to letting Frank die, but he also kills himself in the process. They both take too much medication or whatever and commit suicide together. But it was a beautiful. I don't condone suicide, but it was a beautiful ending
Mhm.
to what they were doing. Like they just loved each other so much that they just chose to end together. You know,
Yep.
because Bill, and it's Bill who is the hard one, right?
Mhm.
He's like just super hard, and so
Very
to see him
guarded.
like
Yep.
I can't live without you anymore. I
Mhm.
choose to give myself up as well. I was like, oh man, that's kind of sad, bro. I get it though.
Very.
I get it. It hurts my heart though. But yeah, so that episode was super sad. I loved it though. I thought it was interesting. It was a good episode. You know, yeah. I was talking to my brother about zombies and post-apocalyptic situations,
Right.
and I asked him, "It's like, do you think?" And I asked you the same question, and I asked our audience, you know, all the people out there listening, the same question. And if you want, write it in the comments. What you think? Do you think that if a real post-apocalyptic situation occurred, it doesn't have to be zombies, but something post-apocalyptic, right, happened? Do you really think that we would act in such a monstrous way in real life? Because people, like in any movie you watch, whether it's The Walking Dead, this show, I don't know if you ever watched Revolution on, I think it was on NBC. It was like in the mid 2000s.
I've heard of Revolution. Is that the one
Yeah.
where they go back, or no? Where they go back, or not? They go back, but they basically had to live like they were back in the Stone Age.
Yes. Yeah. Because electricity for some reason stops working. So
Yeah, yeah.
all electrical devices just didn't work anymore. So they had to like do everything manually again. Yeah.
I've heard of it. Never
And
seen it though.
yeah. But people are just so aggressive, so brutal, so, you know.
I have a good answer for that actually.
Yeah. So
And
what do you think?
I think there will be. It will be total chaos. And here's why. If you've ever grown up in the ghetto, you kind of that's kind of an idea. It gives you an idea. Limited resources. A lot of people that were incarcerated or live in that area. They're basically, those incarcerated people are like second rate citizens ultimately, right? So if you think about it like that, but you put it on a global scale, people are hungry. People have children that are starving. When you think about it, right now, like in our world, we have everything. We are in abundant. You know, if we're hungry, you can just go and get some food because we have jobs, we have money that come in. When you don't have stuff that come in, when you don't know if you're going to eat the next day, yes, it'll be total chaos. There wouldn't be any heartfelt because it'll be more like, this is mine. This is for my family. I have to provide. When it becomes like that, that's when it's dangerous. That's why if it was post-apocalyptic, you said that in the episode we did with Nerdy Marie, you said, you know, you'd probably be killed by a human. That is actually more likely than it would be against a zombie.
Right. I know. I completely agree about probably getting killed quicker by a human than a zombie. So, okay. But do you, okay. Go on.
But if it was a zombie, I don't think a zombie apocalypse would ever survive against the humans. Personally,
you think we would wipe out all zombies?
Them out before they could get anywhere, dog. I mean,
I agree with you.
We're gonna smoke them. It's just, but we wouldn't be able to smoke stuff like Last of Us. That happened. Everybody eats a pancake. Even vegans eat pancakes. You know what I'm saying? Like it'll happen. You know what I mean?
The only people safe are those who are pure carnivores and they eat nothing but meat every day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, joke's on you,
like
vegetarians, veganists.
Yeah, but okay, what were you gonna say? Sorry, before.
So, do you think so? Okay, because I could understand that, like, right after such a horrible situation, but in like in The Last of Us, it's 20 years later, right? These children who are like, let's say 10 to 15 years old are now in their 30s. So you wouldn't think that those people would be more accustomed to their surroundings? And now, because here's my thing, this is how I see it. I think the reason why people would be so vicious is because they don't know how to self-sustain, right?
Mm-hmm. Education. Yep.
We're so dependent on going to the grocery store and picking up our food. We're so
Mm-hmm.
dependent on our electricity giving us comfort, on our our homes being the way they are, and all this stuff. That if that was taken away so abruptly, yes, we would panic. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
resources have become limited. We would panic and feel like we need. I mean, look what happened with COVID-19. My brother made a good point about this.
Yeah.
No, and toilet paper. People were
toilet paper
killing
too,
each
yeah.
other. Freaking toilet paper.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
chill. Right. So so imagine now your food is at a lower rate, right? And you don't know how to fend for yourself. Yeah, you're gonna get more. But I would say that 20 years is plenty of time for younger people and even older people, but especially younger people. I choked on my own dang saliva now. For younger people to get accustomed, because a 10-year-old living in this world, first dang, I don't have my iPad to play on. That sucks. But like, children are much quicker to rebound, the bounce from a bad situation than grown-ups are, right? We're more set in our ways. But I think that that child will eventually be able to learn how to hunt, gather, so on and so forth, right? And people should learn how to do those things eventually. You have 20 years to learn this. You're telling me that you just decided to just sit in your house, not being able to do this, and learn how to do all these things that 200 years ago, 300 years ago was just common knowledge. And this is why I say it's hard for me to believe that 20 years in the future, if this occurred, that we would still be acting so, in my opinion, barbaric, right? Because 300 years ago, people weren't acting barbaric. It wasn't like, oh, if I saw that guy across the street, I'm going to go kill him for his resources. Most people were still, I mean, the Wild Wild West was still the Wild Wild West.
Right.
And people were killing each other, but it wasn't like anybody who came into town was quickly beaten or robbed or whatever, right? There was still some kind of civil order.
Well, during those times too, you can't forget that there's hierarchy in class, and there was a class back then. Like if you were a noble, so today we all live like nobles. I mean, if you take away the whole, like, I don't know, the Rothschilds or whatever, okay? You take those guys out. We live like nobles, and what I mean is the past nobles. We don't. We have an education. We have an education, which back then you weren't allowed to, not knowing how to read, not knowing how to do math was actually very normal.
I get that.
So to go off of what you're saying with, like, so barbaric, you're right. If a kid was 10 years old, over 20 years, he has learned how to hunt. He has learned how to survive. However, he has also learned how to be cynical, how to not trust others. You know what I mean? Because his parents
That's exactly what my brother said.
his parents didn't. Because a child is going to learn from their parents. The child isn't going to go to school. He's not going to learn about social connections. You know what I mean? Because what happens is you have to take away from the child that's 10 years old, from the child when you were 10 years old. They're not gonna do the same thing. That's why in anime you actually see, or is it anime I'm thinking? Actually, in real life, you'll see a kid just like not understanding how to use or how to. I'm trying to make this into a better. Okay, so there's this girl on Instagram. I'm pretty sure she was 100% like sincere when she said it, but she said, "What if there was a phone that was at the house?" And
I saw that one.
You did, right? Yeah. So if she's never heard of a house phone, it's not because she's an idiot or anything like that. She just don't know. She doesn't know.
Right. It wasn't in her time period.
It wasn't in her time period. She would never know that. And I know why I brought up the anime. So the adults that go through all this turmoil is like, I want my kids to live in a better world. Yes, but that is always the past. They always want that. But that better world is where your kids are going to grow into. And they will never understand your struggles. And that's why you have a lot of issues between millennials and boomers and Gen Z and millennials. You see what I'm saying? Like, everybody lives in a different time. They will never grow up the same way that the past did, unless, well, I mean, in an apocalyptic area, the parents have changed. The parents are no longer that caring, loving, understanding. It's you got to eat, we got to survive. It's us or them. That's basically what the kid's going to be growing up for 20 years.
I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying. But I don't know.
You have a lot of faith in humanity, though. I love it.
I guess I do. I guess I have a belief. My belief is that yeah, although at the beginning, I would argue the first 5 to 10 years, and 10 is even pushing it in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But the first 5 years for sure, there would be a lot of struggles, a lot of conflicts between people because there is so much scarring of, oh yeah, you can't trust no one because anybody at any time can, stab you in the back because they want your resources.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Completely agree. I understand that. But at some point, it has to click in people's head that if you keep fighting among each other, you will not survive. There has to be a level. There has to be a point in human evolution that goes, wait, we need to come together in order to survive. All nations.
But we're still fighting that.
I get that. I get that. No, I do. But look at where we live today. Even though we do have wars happening, Ukraine versus Russia is an example of one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Russia's attack on Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
As a whole, if you look at the world as a whole, there aren't countries always attacking each other for resources. There's a common understanding that it is better to negotiate and to help each other so that I can get what I want and you get what you want than it is for me to kill you and then take your resources, because there's a chance that you will overwhelm me instead. And I think Russia's seeing that right now with Ukraine, but that's a whole different story. It's like, you're not as easy as I thought.
There's also a study that Africa could become a superpower, but I believe that they actually fight amongst each other a lot for resources.
Well, I mean, there's so much,
but I don't know,
outward influence into Africa. France, England, Spain, all these other countries that have pinned themselves to, and the resources that we pull out of Africa. I mean, that's a whole other geopolitical debate that we can have, right? That definitely helps in Africa not being able to overcome their struggles because they're always being pinned against each other.
If they are even, I mean, we don't even know. What if they don't want to be a superpower? What if they want to be like chill? Well,
and once again, we don't know. We definitely understand that Africa is not a country, but a continent full of countries. We are not stupid. But that is what we're arguing. There's so many countries in Africa who fight each other. But that's a whole different thing. But I don't know. Like I said, I think that 20 years passing, we would become more civil, be able to communicate with other towns, other villages, whatever you want to call, to better resources. I think what was Joel's brother's name? Tommy Miller, yeah. Right? The town he lived looked like Ghost a town Rider. That they were. Was he Ghost Rider?
He was Ghost Rider. Yep.
Huh. In what? Wait, in what?
In Ghost Rider,
the movie,
the new one, the new show. The new. Not the new show. He was in. I'm
like, wasn't it Nicolas Cage who was Ghost Rider?
No, Nicolas Cage was the first, but 1 and 2. But there was a Ghost Rider in, I believe, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, okay. I see. I stopped watching it after a while because it started pissing me off. But that was a whole different thing. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Ghost Rider.
But that is my question. I throw it to all of you people out there. Let me know if you agree with me and have some hope, some level of hope for humanity, or if you're more like and you're like, nah, man, we just kill each other until we're all non-existent.
It's just it's survival of the fittest. That's that. Right. But anyway,
so yeah.
Tell us what you think. All right, on to the next part. So we have groups like the Fireflies and Fedra.
Yes.
And then you have the human, how would you say? Human run kind of zones. Kind of like the place where you're the cannibal guy.
Independent communities.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Communities. There you go. Regular human communities. Yeah. So we have Fedra, who I believe is the government.
Yeah.
That is like super military. Like they want everything to be militant, which kind of makes sense in that world, to be honest. Not going to lie. It should be militant. You need to fight these things.
Yeah, but that's not what they were fighting. But that's a whole different story. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it started off that way, but then it just became like, oh, let me control this
QZ. Yep.
community, and then yeah. But I
I
know what
think they
you're
were the
saying.
government though. They were the government.
Yeah, no, they were originally like safe zones, quarantine zones to
Yep.
protect people from what was happening in the world. But when the government collapsed because it can't withstand such a horrible situation,
Yeah, everybody eat
they
pancakes.
just became like independent militias that are like, well, now it's ours. We're in control,
Right.
and well, the boy with the biggest gun wins, right?
Right. And then you
Or the
have
kid
the
with the biggest gun.
fireflies, which is basically the revolutionaries, you
Yeah.
know? And so you see that these guys are, how would I say? They're like the freedom riders, and I think
Right.
I didn't really know what to think about them, but essentially they're like another Fedra, but they're the underground version of it.
Isn't that the story of every single good intention? Fedra was good intentions, but then,
Yeah.
Corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Fireflies are good intentions. Are they corrupt? Well, I don't know. If you watch the last episode, I would argue that it kind of is, but that's because to me, it didn't make sense. And then, and in real life, there are so many organizations out there. I won't name any of them, but there are organizations out there that fight for good intentions. And if you look at them today, you're like, well, to me, you don't really stand for what you said you stood for anymore. Like, people join these organizations and they try to get whatever they want out of it. And so it corrupts it. Right. So to me, Fireflies, I don't know. I'm still on the fence, but definitely the last episode made me feel like, oh, well, I don't know if you're walking the right path anymore, right? If you're really for the people. To some extent they are. And honestly, I can't really argue with them, right? So because they want Ellie because she's immune, right? And
they
I
want to
guess
know why, yeah.
Right. So let's talk about that for a second here. They want Ellie because she's immune. And so they're gonna check her out to see, whoa, why is this happening? Well, how are you like this?
You're gonna check her
And
out.
you and the question I ask now is it okay to sacrifice the one for the many?
See, if I was the one, yes.
Okay. So this brings me this is what kind of upset me. This is what really bothered me, right? They never asked Ellie. So here's the thing. This is the part that doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to tell you guys.
Oh, we're going to go into it right now?
Oh, I'm going to go into it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm going to go into it. So Ellie has the cordyceps in her brain, like all the other infected do, right? Yep. But her cordyceps, for whatever reason, didn't take over her body, and they're kind of like living
they're still
symbiotic.
They're boxing.
They're like living symbiotic with her now, right? The Firefly, or the doctor of the Fireflies, needs to kill her by opening her brain and pull out these cordyceps in order to figure out why they're doing this, and then from that make a antifungal, vaccine to cure all of humanity. Here's the issue that doesn't make sense to me. The cordyceps themselves would not be the cause of her being immune. That is part of her immune system. That is what causes people to be immune, not your brain. It's your immune system, which, guess what? You can pull through blood. So if somebody has a better explanation than the show had to why they had to kill her to remove the cordyceps in order to do this, please let me know. Second of all, we do brain surgeries all the time and not kill the patient. I understand that technology is limited, but you couldn't just do it not like without killing her. Doesn't make sense to me either. If you had to get out the cordyceps.
Well, I mean, that's hopefully. Well, I think that the doctor didn't have the skill, but I did have. That actually made sense, or that makes sense too, because I had the same thought, or I was just like, why did they not talk to Ellie about it?
Like, and so that brings my third point.
Yeah. Okay.
Why didn't you ask Ellie if she was okay? If you had to kill her, why not ask Ellie if it was okay to kill her? Right?
Yeah.
Why keep it a secret from her? Because it would obviously the outcome of keeping a secret from her was Joe went and just murdered everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm like,
You went psycho
Yeah,
2000 on that,
he
right?
did.
And just wrecked everybody. But I am on the same boat with you. Is I think if she was asked that question, if they went and said, Ellie, so we need to get this, we need to get this out of you, but the only way to do it is you'll probably die in the process. Are you okay with that? I'm pretty sure she would have said yes.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer that one for the many, but as long as the one gives consent, as long as the one says yes.
Yeah.
If I was asked that question, as much as I would probably be scared to die, knowing that I would save so many people, worth it. That all the suffering would end, worth it.
Yeah. And also, remember how you said like how would the brain surgery, go the way that they planned or whatever without certain things not making sense, like brain surgeries we
do it all the time.
Right? So here was another thing that I was thinking about too. So I was just like, what if their test fails? They don't know it'll work. They only have one shot.
Yeah.
I'm like, bruh, I was like in my head, I'm like, let's not kill our one shot. Let's see if we can make more people like her. You know what I mean?
Now that I think about it, you made a great point earlier. Maybe the doctor didn't know how. And if you think about it, it's been 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor, because Joe kills the doctor. That doctor did not look like, that doctor did not look like he was old. It looked like he was like a middle-aged man, 40s, maybe 50s. So if you think about it, he was in his 20s or 30s when if he was a doctor at the beginning, he was in 20s or 30s. So if he, probably not a very good surgeon if he was a brain surgeon to even begin with. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he didn't know how to do it, but then you're just butchering a person for no reason. And like you said, they only had one chance. You really wanted to take that chance, and that with a botched doctor.
Yeah, I was just like, nah, dog. Use her blood. At least that's
you don't have needles anymore.
Yeah, I was just like, use her blood, dude. Yeah, you don't even need needles. You can just, what I'm saying?
It does not make sense to me. It does not say, like I said, immunity comes from the immune system, hence why immunity is in the word. So
but
why they needed...
Does your immune system have anything to do with your brain too?
Your immune system. So how the immune system works is when a foreign object, bacteria, fungus, whatever you're fighting, enters your body, that foreign object, pathogen, releases the DNA. Like you know, your skin, you're peeling skin all the time. It's everywhere, right? It's the same for any other creature or / virus, right? It's always shedding. So your immune system picks that up, says, oh, what the heck is this? I don't know what this is, and takes it to a location like the lymph nodes or the spleen, wherever it needs to, and says, yo, I got this weird thingy, it doesn't belong to us. And it's like, oh, this is a foreign object. So it produces certain immune cells that have the antibody the antibody to these antigens. The fragments are antigens, and now it has these immune cells have antibodies that then go around the body, and when they come in contact with this foreign object, it attacks it, right? And says, oh, here it is.
It doesn't matter where in the body, right? It could be in the brain.
It doesn't matter where it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and here's the thing: like, unless the cordyceps somehow first has to enter your body, whether it enters through your nose or enters through your mouth, it has to get into your bloodstream in order to reach other parts of your body. And for the most part, and a fungus is not microscopic. It is not a microscopic organism. It is big. You could even see it in the show that when it's I forgot what they're called, but the little tentacle thingies that they have, the little roots, you can see it. They're ginormous. It cannot penetrate your blood, your blood vessels, without damaging your blood vessels. So if it's going to your brain and damaging your brain, and going through your blood vessels in your brain, it's definitely going to kill you then. And in that case, I guess it is zombies, because it's killing the people as it goes to the brain and ruptures all the blood vessels up there, causing just, aneurysms everywhere in their mama. So there's a whole bunch of things. But those little, the antibodies that she would have would come from her blood, from the white blood cells and other other immune cells, right? That's where it would come from. So it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and yeah, so okay, I thought it was kind of I knew it wasn't alone in that actually. And you know what's funny? The way that you brought it up was reminded me of the anime Cells at Work, where the white blood cells. Yeah, dude.
Watch that. That gives you at least like an elementary kind of middle school level of understanding of how the body works and immune cells and all that. So watch
it's
it.
Crazy.
Watch that show.
Watch
so
it. And then watch
the
Last
anime
of Us
is
again.
great. It's so funny.
Or the last episode.
Like I said, if there's a person out there who can explain to me why he had to do surgery, other than obviously because it's part of the plot, right? But scientifically make me understand why that had to be the case and that they couldn't draw blood from her because it wouldn't work that way. Leave it in the comments. I would be more than happy to understand because I sat there going, that's just kind of stupid.
Right.
I don't get that.
I was just thinking about it too. You remember when Sam, the young kid, the one that got bit, Sam and Henry?
Boy? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a heart.
Yeah.
That
Oh
one
my
hurt my
goodness.
heart too.
So remember how Ellie tried to cut herself to use her blood to
right.
coat it? I mean, obviously that wasn't going to work. I mean,
that was definitely wasn't going to work.
Sis, no. But I think that they should have run more tests. Like that's the smarter idea. And so here was actually my issue with the end. It was how weird Joel was about it.
At the very end?
At the very end, Joel
when she was asking him.
Yeah, Joel to me made it weird. So he was just like, so Marlene's like, hold on. She was like, oh my gosh, Joel just killed all of us. You know what I mean? She's like, wait. He's like, no, you're just going to find her. I was like, of course he's going to kill you, Marlene. It makes sense for him to kill you because he's Joel and he's caring for Ellie as if she's his daughter. Yeah. And so when she said, no, be upfront with me, he couldn't. And I'm like, why? Just say, I mean, maybe he didn't know like how we kind of have an idea of how it should have gone, but it should have been just like blood tests for years. You know what I mean? She should have been worked on for years. That's another thing too. I was just like, that is beyond me. But then again, I was just thinking about it too. Like they're smart up to 2003. You know what I mean? So I don't know what breakthroughs we've gone through from then and prior.
I will argue that brain surgery has probably come a long way since 2003. So you could use that as an argument.
I guess you could. Yeah, you could.
But yeah, you could use that as the argument. But still,
I forgot about that too.
We still know about the blood, and to me it doesn't make sense.
You got the Nokia phones.
Now to applaud. Oh look, you can see the sun right there, people, right there. It's coming through. To applaud them, right? Because in the game, I believe that the fungus is spread through the air, right? The spores are airborne, which is something that happens with fungi spores anyways. That does happen. And I watched the after credit stuff where they kind of explained the episode, and in the first episode they were talking about how they had to change that mycelium. That's what it's called. The roots are called mycelium. I was like, I know the name. And they said that they couldn't do spores because if you do spores, it doesn't really make sense for a show, because if you do it that way, then then everybody would just be infected and you're all dying.
Yeah.
Right. If you did spores, it would go all over the world and practically everybody just get infected and die, and then there would be no show. So they went with mycelium, which was pretty cool. I thought that was one of the coolest things, right? That mycelium was able to talk to each other. And then that's how the hordes came in episode 2, I believe it was, right? They killed one of the zombies, whatever you want to call it, the infected. And in doing so, you saw the mycelium like crawl into his hand and got into his blood and read, oh snap, you attacked us. And then it woke up all the other zombies that were like, let's say 10 miles down the road or whatever. And they all started coming. That's pretty dope. And I thought that was really awesome, because if you look at fungus can have miles upon miles of network underground, right?
Oh yeah.
A fungus that is on like one side, 10 miles down the street is connected to another fungus that's 10 miles the other direction. They have huge networks underground that are connected, and I thought that was a really genius way of putting that idea. I mean that was pretty dope.
I didn't know that was mycelium.
Mycelium is what it's called.
I didn't know that.
Mycelium is the
That's
like
cool.
tentacle thingies. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's in Minecraft. That's one thing that I knew.
Mycelium?
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, that's totally like left field. But anyway, but yeah, so we already talked about the Fedra. We already talked about the Fireflies. We haven't talked about the human communities, which was weird in general with the whole cannibal parts. And let me say, this whole show is mad graphic.
Yeah,
like, if any of you guys seen the anime, was it not Kill la Kill? Was it Kill la Kill? Was it Kill la Kill? But there's an anime where in the beginning, this kid comes from a small town and he follows this noble girl home because he saves her from bandits. Finds out that this chick is crazy, all right? And
is this the one with their he joins like a rebellious group of people?
Yeah,
I think it is Kill la Kill.
Is it Kill la Kill?
I want to say it's Kill la Kill.
I thought Kill la Kill was the one with the sisters and the naked rebellion one. No, not that one. No. Oh, Akame got killed. There you go.
That's the one. Yeah, you're right.
Akame got killed. Yeah. Akame got killed.
That was such a great and horrible anime at the same time.
So you see that the first time where the main character comes in, meets her, and then there's these cut up people inside of her barn. That's the same. That is the same feeling I got when I saw Joel walk into that shed with all the people hanging. I'm like, oh,
right. That was
and then
crazy.
it took me back to the scene where they're in the kitchen. They're like, what is that? He goes, venison. And I'm like, right, it's deer. I was like, they just caught it, right? But they haven't brought it in yet.
No. I mean, I when that scene came, and he's like venison, right? I'm like, nah, homie, that's human meat.
Oh, dude, that is
that's
nuts.
human meat. Don't tell me that's venison.
Yeah, bro. And then and so it's crazy too. Like that dude that pretended to be a priest or whatever, and she's like, I gotta take revenge for my father. Slaps him. You only have one father. And I was like, that's weird. How else he just has a super huge change of character, huh?
I will also argue this is a personal issue of mine that affects me greatly. It really irritates me, especially nowadays more than ever. So as people may know, I am a Christian, and for whatever reason, I don't know why people always portray Christian people as the psychopaths in everything. I'm like, why? Why am I always the crazy person in these organizations? So yeah, this guy David, I think was his name, right? And
yeah,
he was like,
he wasn't a priest before the fall.
No, he wasn't.
He was a teacher.
Yeah, right. And he was like, he wasn't a priest. I think he was a pastor. Is what he said he was. But I was just like, why, bro? Why you got to be that person? But that's just a me thing. I'm just like, man, I ain't crazy. I wouldn't be eating people.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, look at The Walking Dead. I mean, they made Gabriel out to be like a crazy dude, but he was more of fearful, and then all of a sudden he became this dope Christian guy. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, Gabriel. I had Gabriel was an interesting character.
Gabriel was an interesting character, but yeah. So okay, I mean, yeah. So the human communities definitely, I definitely feel that there would be a lot of those types, and unfortunately, like.
Well, and then you had Tommy's community.
Yeah,
Tommy's community was like they're like chill in comparison.
The communist. when Joel's like, oh, it's a communism, and then you just see that there's a slight pause between both Tommy and Joel, like, and I was like, was that because they're from Texas or something? I was just like,
right? Yeah, well, yeah, they're two like hardcore American military men.
Yeah, I was just like, I didn't get that pause. So I'm just like, is it because where you guys are from? I was like, there's no other reason as to why, because Tommy was only in the beginning, and so so that's why I'm just like, okay, well, I thought that was a little funny thing, but yeah, you have also
that was hilarious. And she's like, yeah, actually, I guess we are.
But that the community like Tommy's was actually more dangerous than the human community that that one priest guy or pastor guy was in.
David?
Yeah, because remember that the two couple, the native couple? Dude, they were awesome. They were like, do you tell them the truth? Yeah. Are you telling me the truth? Yeah. Dude, they were awesome. And they said
I
that watch out the
I also
river.
enjoy him.
Oh, who?
I don't know who the guy.
the
I forgot
actor?
his name. Yeah, the actor.
Hmm.
I've enjoyed him. He was in Free Willy, wasn't he? I remember him from Free Willy.
Bro, he's an old school character. I mean, or not
Yeah, oh
character,
yeah,
actor, but like, yeah.
yeah. But
I don't
yeah,
even remember his
that was
name.
great. You know what else I really loved?
Which one?
I think this is one of those things like, and I know that everybody out there who plays the game probably were crazy about this. That Ashley Johnson played Ellie's mom.
Yep.
Because Ashley Johnson is the voice of Ellie in the game, and I'm pretty sure everybody else was just like, "Oh, that's so cool!" Because I know I was.
Yeah.
I don't even play the game, and I thought that was amazing. I thought that was a beautiful, cool little Easter egg to put out there.
That's funny because the first thing I thought of was, growing pains. But I don't know if anybody remembers growing pains. Amanda Johnson played the youngest daughter of the Seaver family. Oh, they say
Ashley
Haley?
Johnson.
Ashley Johnson.
You said
Johnson.
Amanda.
Amanda Johnson. Wrong kid show. No, or kid actor. But yeah, Ashley Johnson played the youngest daughter in Growing Pains. And yeah, so I was like, oh, hey, Growing Pains.
Right.
And so, yes, when she was on the screen, I was just like, oh, nice. I was like, hey, isn't that the voice actor? And my brother pointed that out. He's like, hey, it's the voice actor of the Ellie from the game. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right, huh? Because I knew about that before even the show came out. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. When I saw it, I was like, oh, wow, she would be the mother, huh?
That'd be cool. That was cool. I mean, that was cool. I thought that was a cool way of putting her in the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, yeah.
Rumor had it that Ellie was made out of, or her character was made from Elliot. I forgot how to say her name, but he played Kitty in X-Men 3 way back when. She goes, or he goes by the name Elliot now. It used to be, oh man, I forgot her name, but she was the intended Ellie, but I believe she's too old. Oh, her name was, or his name is Elliot Page now.
Oh, yeah.
But
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So beforehand, when she was younger, because that's when she played more like, I guess, comic book type characters. So it made sense that, it was formed off of her, I guess, her looks. And then all of a sudden I'm like, but Bella looks almost identical to this one, to the game one, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. And then when my brother was like, oh, it's Lady Mormont, I was just like, is it? Yo, yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think the person who cast all these people, I think they did a really great job of picking people who were close to the characters, whether by like physically or character wise, like portraying that kind of persona. So I thought that was good. I was like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
So yeah, when coming down to this series, they paid a lot of homage to the game. A lot of parts from the game was also in the show, like a lot of the scenes, and I really appreciate it. I know that a lot of gamers would appreciate it. However, there's a lot of rumors going on back and forth on whether or not, this show was awesome, or, it did great or did justice towards the video game. And to be honest, like, if I were to put a grade on this, my grade on it, I thought that even with all the parts that I didn't like, I would probably give it I'd give it like a B, not a B plus, but like a B. And only because I didn't like how weird Joel made it at the end. I mean, I know there's two parts. However, it just didn't feel right that he made it that weird. Like it could have been done differently, or maybe that whole scene of her asking, and then maybe if he got mad, I don't know. I just felt weird about it. I'm like,
Well, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, spoiler alert, Joel dies in part 2. So there you go. Well, no. So from what I saw, I thought people who play the game, from what I've seen and what I've heard, they really enjoyed it because I think they did a lot of like cut scenes between the show and the game scenes, and they were practically identical. So I was like, dang, good job. They didn't take out a lot, and whatever changes they did make seem to have made sense. Like I said, like the spores, instead of making them spores, and they made them mycelium, right? Because it just makes more sense that way. Like, I agree. Unlike something like Halo, which we could definitely talk about a different day, they chose not to pay attention to the game and just made their own thing. And I blame Amazon, because Amazon is not doing a great job with their I forgot what it was, what word we used, their adaptations of games, or slash other things, because you have Halo, you have Lord of the Rings, Power Rings, which a lot of people were like, what the heck are you doing? But we could totally talk about those some other time as well. But yeah, I think they did a great job. And from what I've seen, a lot of people who play the game also enjoyed it. I give it an A minus. Is what I would give it. Like I said, my only gripe really was the whole needing to kill her, because that was the only way to get the stuff out of her or whatever. And I'm just like, that doesn't make sense to me. Please explain. And when you do, I'll appreciate it. So please do so.
Well, all right. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode. Don't forget to follow us on IG, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Anchor FM. You can listen to us every Friday on Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out our videos. And don't forget to leave a comment. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Later, guys.